right, here we are, backyard business. We started in my backyard, but we found a lot of very cool backyards. So we kind of changed now, and now we're at the Da Vinci Science Center, which is incredible. And two guys that really had a lot to do with this, actually had a lot to do with your family for 4 generations, I think I have that right, had a lot to do with a lot of stuff downtown. So Steve and Mike Butz, thanks so much for being with us. And I guess the question, I'll start with you, Steve. Do you feel, at the 4th generation, is there pressure living up to the legacy of, the Butz family and the Butz company?
A little bit. So we're actually a 6th generation.
Oh,
so
wow.
4 goes back to Alvin, but there's 2 generations before him who were around building covered bridges in the Lehigh Valley.
No kidding.
So yeah, technically we're 6 generations, like 180 around years. So yeah, there's a little bit of pressure that comes with that, but it kind of feels natural, like it's the only thing we've really ever done. So yeah, there's certainly, we have a reputation in the community that we want to uphold, and so there's some pressure with that, but we have some good, being 6th generation, some good people to look up to, and get advice from, being our dad and grandfather over the years, and they're still around, and learning a lot from them.
What I like about you guys is that, I'll ask you this, Mike, is that I would really say your humility. I mean, there's nothing, I get to work with both of you. You're on the Chamber Exec Committee. Is that part of sort of the family culture that, there's nothing arrogant, I'll use that. You're just good guys.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of...
You're not like me, arrogant and such.
I think it's a combination of natural personality and understanding that, when you're in a fortunate position like we are to have a business and a reputable name in the area, it just makes sense. If you come off like a jerk, not like you, but if you come off like a jerk, you're going to be not looked at the right way. And I think just being humble and understanding that we're an important part of the community, and we try to do everything we can to help others around us, just makes sense to be that way.
Yeah, I think that's a Lehigh Valley thing, Steve. Arrogance doesn't, I always tell humility is a good thing in the Lehigh Valley. Yeah. Arrogance doesn't sell very well around.
No, it's a small, it's not small, but it's a tight-knit community. I can't go anywhere without seeing people that I know. So, you're always running into people that we know, and it's a friendly place to be, and that's a good thing. It's a great place to live.
One thing that impressed me, and we jumped in on it. So when your grandfather decided that, because you had a nice building in 309 West Allentown, decided he was going to make a commitment to Allentown, to downtown. I'll never forget that. And built this building, which is right across the street, gorgeous building. And by the way, we'll talk about, you built this incredible structure too, and we can talk about that, as well as the PPL Center. But what we did then, we sold our building and moved in as a tenant, because I wanted to show if he was willing, if your grandfather was willing to make that commitment, we should support that and become a tenant.
I think, moving down here was certainly a little bit before our time. I think I was in high school and we were still in school coming up, but I think recognizing that Allentown needs more support was one of the main reasons that we came down here. It was at a time when it was sort of past the booming area, I guess you could say.
It was before, unfortunately, before the NIS,
right?
So you didn't get the...
Yeah, weren't able to take advantage of that as much. But I think, my dad and grandfather's vision to acknowledge that the area down here needs support, and us moving down here was just really a testament to their vision, and to just try to do something bigger than ourselves, bigger than building buildings. It was more to try to support the community as a whole.
What I love about that too, Steve, like me, you live in downtown Allentown. You lived in the western portion, at one point right by Muhlenberg School, which I went to Muhlenberg Elementary School. But so I don't know, but it just sort of fits into your history. I know, in talking to your grandfather, having interviewed him at the annual meeting, and his passion, he wanted to do. I'll shift to 2 things. Number one, you're living in downtown, so you know it, you live it. But number 2, his passion to want to do the PPL Center. He was like, if he didn't do that building, that would have broken his heart.
Yeah. We're Allentown family. We've been here forever. Going back 175 years, we've been here forever. So it's the only thing that we know, and we really do care about it. Like you said, Mike and I both lived in the city, and I currently do, and it's something that we really care about. So yeah, when that project came out, and we were in competition to get it, it was extremely important to my grandfather specifically that we got that project kind of at any cost. it wasn't the most profitable or successful project, but it was extremely important to us and to our reputation that we do that project. It's right down the street from our office. Yeah, it would have been very heartbreaking to walk by it every day and see, you know, an out of town contractor or somebody building kind of the premier venue in our city.
This here right now, right across. So that's a good point. That in the end, to meet the timeline and so on. I mean, I'm not, but it wasn't a financial boom. It was really about the project.
Yeah, it was a challenging, just as Steve said, you know, we acknowledged leading into the pursuit that we're pretty much going to do anything possible to get that project. And we didn't care as much about the financial. I mean, we cared about it, but it wasn't the main thing that was important to us on that project, like Steve said.
How many employees do you have, by the way? I'm sorry.
We have about 75 to 80 in Allentown, and then we have two sister companies in State College in Harrisburg in the Philadelphia region. So in total, within our organization, we have about 180. Yeah. So it was just important to do that job down here. We were going to do it, like Steve said, at whatever it took, and just being a part of that was the key goal into that project pursuit.
What's the difference of your functions? Why do I think are you?
I'm more in the operations side right now, so we're, you know, like
So
I
you're
said,
in
we're
the trenches in terms of are you on
yeah
site
doing
here?
projects. Yeah, like this was my project for 2 years, so yeah, I lived on site here for 2 years.
I can't even imagine what that's like. So you got ground, and then you start with a hole in the ground. I mean, it's incredible how it all evolves. And I assume you have days where you're like, this is crazy. This is
Yeah, there's a lot of days in that process. It's a long process. You know, every day is it can be a challenge. You know, it's a long 2+ year project for a building like this. Yeah, this was a parking lot before, and then yeah, you start for 6 months, you're going down, and it feels like, oh man, we're not really getting anywhere. And then all of a sudden, it kind of comes up, and all the trades show up, and it's like a year goes by, you know, like that.
what's it like when you actually cut a ribbon somewhere that after something like this, after you build a building like this?
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, you know, there's a lot that goes into the projects. There's a lot of, like I said, tough days. It affects us personally. It's a challenging atmosphere to be in, but rewarding at the same time at the end of a project like that, especially one like this where there's so much community interest in it and engagement. To see, you know, the ribbon cutting with all the people in the community and everybody who was kind of ever involved in the project over several years, be there and see it open. It's a good feeling.
When he talks about challenges, I remember again your grandfather saying with the PPL Center having to get snow off the roof and timeline to get it done and last minute. So I guess that's expected in this field.
It's just part of the industry. There's hardly ever a project that we finish where we say, geez, that was no problem. It's just, but that's the uniqueness of it. Every job has its own challenges, whether it's the people on site dealing with different personalities or the weather during the PPL Center. I think we had one of the worst winters of record in the area, but that's just part of it. You go into a project with, you think you know everything that's going to happen, and on day one, you know, a million things happen that you didn't think of. So that's just really a part of the industry, and you have to adapt and react every day to what's happening.
Steve, I want to ask you about the evolution. First of all, congratulations, recently married. I mean, not too long ago. And your wife worked for the chamber, and I think she said she was so glad to get away from me and the chamber. Is that? But anyway, no, but Brittany was great. We loved having her, and she got a nice gig with Equinox right now. So yeah. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, what's the new universe? You know, so again, you're six. You said 6 generations. What's the new universe in terms of employees? And is it you guys use the trades group, right? You're plugged into the trades of Lehigh Valley in many cases. Harder to find people today. You know, we hear that all the time, but is that not the case in your field?
I would say it is. I would say we have similar challenges to other businesses not in our sector. You know, we're mostly management people we're trying to hire. So yeah, there's competition among you know, national construction companies, local companies, different generations coming out. You know, for years we had the same kind of core group of people working for us for 20, 30, 40 years, which is you know, hard to replace that kind of knowledge when they eventually retire. So we're kind of going through a wave of hiring new people, and it's a different generation. You know, people don't typically stay at companies their entire career anymore. So that's one of the things. I'm in operations, but we're getting exposed to that and figuring out, all right, how do we attract top talent and retain talent? It's a challenge that we deal with pretty much every day.
Yeah, what do you think that is? So I guess two questions for you, Mike, and that is, what is it that what you did have that you had people that were there forever? I think of the Butz company. I think of several people that were there. That doesn't happen as much today. But I guess and when you think of that legacy, the people you had working with you, do you feel like you picked up that knowledge just by being around as you were younger and in college and so on?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started about 15 years ago, full time now, when I graduated from school, a lot of the people that Steve referenced, I went to Penn State.
Oh, okay.
So
How about you, Steve?
I also went to Penn State.
Okay.
yeah. So when I started, a lot of the people that Steve was referencing were still working here. So I had a solid 5 or 10 years to try to absorb as much of that knowledge as possible. So I personally do feel like I learned a lot from that group. And I think why it's different now is because of social media and the internet and everything so global that young people just have so many different opportunities. There's constantly people reaching out to them saying, we have this position available. Are you interested in this? What do you think about this? And it's not anything special or unique. It's just kind of how things are, and we have to constantly be thinking of ways to try to retain people.
I'm thinking of Bailey and Ellie right now. They're probably texting with someone right now trying to get another job. Okay. They're probably almost ready to close the deal. But I didn't want to miss your dad, Greg, Lehigh grad, but he was a really good. He was great baseball. He was a good baseball player.
Yeah.
He doesn't look the part as a good athlete now, but he was pretty good, right?
Yeah. He played all through high school, and he played for 4 years at Lehigh as well, and then afterwards in the Blue Mountain League locally. So yeah, a lot of baseball growing up for us as a result. Like Mike said, like we also played throughout our high school years, and then a little bit afterwards in the same semi adult leagues after. So baseball is a big part of our family.
Yeah, I don't want to miss. So we're in this beautiful. I don't want to miss this. We're in this incredibly gorgeous Da Vinci Center, which turned out. I mean, first of all, just to have it in downtown, who would have thought that all happened? And it did. And talk about what's anything you want to talk about in terms of uniqueness of this project. Maybe something that happened during the building phase. I know at the PPL Center there were some great stories, and how you feel when you're sitting here.
Yeah, we've been involved with Da Vinci Science Center for 25 or 30 years, probably ever since their inception on the south side of Bethlehem, and then their expansion into West Allentown.
Oh, so you did that building? That
was on the Cedar Crest College's campus.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was I think 2006, and then we're still involved with them, over the past 20 years or so. And then as this project evolved, like you alluded to, it was going to be in Easton, it was going to be all over the Lehigh Valley, and then an opportunity came up for it to be built here and for it to be built right across from our office. So pretty similar to the PPL.
Was that another way your grandfather's like, we got to build that?
It's similar. It was a similar situation.
Kind of a similar story, right across
Here we go.
the street. Yeah. So yeah, it had its challenges. Any building project for a nonprofit client, the budget's always the number one thing. They're not in this to make.
You feel community pressure because you're going to it's highly visible. I mean, you're doing a PPL center, you're doing this downtown. The press is going to be. There's in a sense you got to deliver.
Yeah, we're in a fishbowl, and we got fish bowls here. Yeah, everybody's looking at it. We're on. Cool. Yeah, there's trout are growing. There's pressure. It's we're bounded on all sides. It's not a project out in the field where there's a lot of days where we'd say, man, I wish it's a ground up building, but we're right up to the property lines and the neighbors and everybody right down here. And then there's just the community aspect of it too. A lot of public funding goes into it, national and state funding. So there's all types of criteria that you have.
Great point. If you're doing a warehouse in a cornfield somewhere for a private company, small, there's a lot less visibility and with that pressure.
By the second half of the project, we were giving tours like almost every day to different stakeholders. We got good at giving tours, and our new hires got really good at showing people the building. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure, but that's part of what makes rewarding at the end of the day. Is it's it's a landmark venue in Allentown, right across from our office, that we can say, yeah, we built that.
They're giving me the high sign. I could do another half hour, so I want to make sure I get a couple questions in real quick, and that is credible competition in your field anymore in the Lehigh, and good, solid companies that you compete with, and everyone seems to be doing well. I guess I want to ask you that. It's different. Competition is much more aggressive, and also with companies from outside the area. What do you think the future of this construction universe is that you're in? And are you surprised at how much competition and just something we all live with in the 21st century?
Yeah, I think, Steve and I hear a lot about how it used to be kind of a thing, and it's the way I understand it, it's a lot different now than it used to be back then. And to your point, competition is very strong. We compete with, I think, as Steve said earlier, smaller, more local contractors, and then anything significant, we're competing against, national, international construction companies that set up, a small branch office, and they say we're a local company, but their headquarters is in New York City or San Francisco or wherever. So I think for us, the most important thing is just going to be to keep adapting, evolving as the times change, and making sure we're not trying to stick with what we've always done type of a thing. And I don't think that's a bad thing all the time, but I think one thing that we look at all the time is trying to keep things in place that have worked for us in the past, but at the same time adapting with the times and evolving, and just trying to stay as competitive as we can be.
Yeah, I always say, even with the chamber, I mean, when I got here, 90% of our money was dues, 10% non. We've totally inverted that. You have to bring value. But I always say in the 21st century, you've got to evolve. Forget, people used to have a 10-year plan. It's almost like a monthly plan, the way the world works. I want to ask both of you, before I lose you, the last question, and that is that you both are really good guys. And so I'll start with you, Steve. Who's your, when you need, in your professional life, or who's your go-to group that you talk? I mean, when it's time for a tough decision, where do you go?
We have a good set of people within the company, and like Mike said, there's offices across the state. We have four offices. There's people in those offices that are in management positions that have kind of gone through the same trajectory we have. Not part of our family, but they're really good at what they do. They've been involved in projects and now are sort of running other offices or in similar type positions. So there's a good depth of talent to talk to when there's a challenge on a project specifically, or something about, hiring somebody or something like that. There's still a really solid core of people within the organization that we can talk to get advice when we need it.
And I would think, Michael, part of the reason that works, same thing, you have certain people that you can reach out to and talk with? Or?
Yeah, I would say, similar to what Steve said, the other offices kind of gives you a different perspective. They're not in the Lehigh Valley, they're in another market, which sometimes causes you to think a little bit differently.
Sure.
And, you mentioned earlier on the chamber, involved in the chamber board and the exec committee, and I think that experience for me has been also very valuable. There's people I've met on there that can sometimes give me a different perspective, not in the construction industry, and I think that's been a very valuable thing for me as well.
The other thing I think is, and this is my last one, I promise, because I keep getting this time, but I think your personality is your humility. You're not reaching out. I would just sense the way you guys are. You're not reaching out. I know it all. I mean, I would think hey, help me out with this. Yeah. How did you do it?
Yeah, exactly. That's, you come from a place of needing help or needing advice. It's not being humble and having that sort of perspective and asking somebody for help, then they're more willing to give it to you. Like you said, in the Lehigh Valley, there's many people that we can ask those types of questions to, and they're more than happy to give us their advice.
Well, you're both really good guys. I'm glad I got to know you. I like working with you, and thank you for what you do on the exec committee. So Steve and Mike Butz, so Greg's sons, Lee's grandsons, that's as far as back as I go, but doing incredible work. Da Vinci Center, absolutely beautiful place. Congratulations on this PPL Center, and best of luck in the future. And thank you for being a backyard business. Again, we've been all kinds of backyards, which I kind of enjoying. And again, viewership's been amazing. Thanks for your support, and have a great day.